Karen Grisham. Come here, I'm a hugger. I'm a hugger.
Thank you.
Wow. Congrats, Maria. You made the Grish list. Maria, I am the most powerful talent agent in this city or galaxy. And you know why? Every time I walk into a room, I know exactly how I would kill each person I see.
Arnold Palmer?
Elbow to the forehead, golf pencil through the heart.
I think he meant the drink.
Look, open kimono time. I asked you to lunch because I'm a fan. This is a fan lunch, okay?
Wow.
The world loves you. I love you. You are a hilarious
Comedian. So, you want to represent me, or?
Are you kidding me? I would murder that waiter by snapping his gay neck and jamming that oyster fork in both eyes to represent you.
Hey, everybody.
Hi. So nice.
I know, a nice little welcome.
I know, you're so much nicer to me than my family. Unbelievable.
So, and you're probably nicer to Anna than that character that she plays on Lady Dynamite.
Yeah, Karen Grisham is not nice to anyone, including me. And I play her.
So tell me about getting this role and being a part of the show. Your character is one on the show that is probably the most outlandish, over the top,
Which is
crazy.
saying something. It's a very over the top and crazy show. It's Mitch Hurwitz's baby. You know, he created Arrested Development, and Pam Brady, who is the showrunner, you know, has written for South Park, and she's just a brilliant, crazy, out there mind. So you get them together with Maria, and it's her autobiographical story. She's a brilliant comic and suffers from her own mental illness diagnosis. So the story is a comedic take on her experience with her own bipolar 2 diagnosis. So for me to I'm just kind of a cog in a really crazy wheel. And it's incredibly fulfilling because it's so straightforward. You know, when you take on an acting role, it's kind of nice when, in that artsy-fartsy way, to know your intention. And Karen Grisham is so just blindly ambitious and ruthlessly soulless that it just helps the story to be as much of those things as possible.
So Karen's a talent agent.
Yep, she's the most powerful agent in the entire galaxy.
And is she based on a real talent agent?
I've met many Karen Grishams, I'm sad to say. I'm not represented by one because I am afraid of mean people. But yes, I've met many a Karen Grisham in my day, and none of them have signed me. So yeah, she's kind of a mash-em up of you know, it's kind of also like it's a very 90s idea of women in Hollywood, this kind of like, it's such a boys' club that there are these kind of ball-busting women that you come across that, you know, kind of have to be that way in order to survive. Just shark, shark, shark. Yeah.
So is Karen written for you on the page, or did you kind of come into this and create her in your own way?
She's definitely written. I mean, the jokes are all there, and that's all Pam and the writing staff, obviously. But they were very flexible about, you know, improvisation and things like that, which is always really nice when you're doing a comedy. And the other thing is just in terms of attitude, and it sort of scares me, like when they write me complimentary emails like, "You are Karen Grisham. You really, really have captured a person we didn't even know." So it's a little upsetting. But yeah, I kind of love. It was actually really, it's hard. She's kind of ADD in the way that a lot of executives are. Like, she's got her one thing and then she's done. She's got to get done with you and she's got to go on to the next thing, and she's like already thinking about the next thing. So it was actually sort of hard to do because you have to memorize really within an inch of your life in order to switch gears really quickly. That was probably the hardest challenge of playing the part. But apart from that, it's incredibly fun to be that mean and bitchy all day long. And Maria is such a sort of lovely, gentle, you know, generous scene partner that it was kind of easy to punch at her because she would take it in a way that was really satisfying to act with.
And what about the script, you know, kind of jumped out to you, besides the fact that it's Maria Bamford, who's incredible?
Yeah.
And it's on Netflix, which is a cool thing, too, to be on
yeah.
these days.
It was not a long debate, if that's what you're asking, in the terms of when you get opportunities like this. And the role was hilariously funny on the page. Obviously, it's written really smartly and in a really tight and insane way. And then a million comics that I admired were involved. You know, everyone from, you know, Lennon Parham and Bridget Everett and Patton Oswalt. All these people were attached by the time I came around. And then Mitch, you know, is just someone who I've had a long history with, but we've never gotten anything off the ground. So, you know, way back after Arrested, we had like a meeting and a near miss on something he tried to get me on, I didn't get it, you know, back and forth and back and forth. So I was really, really excited for that opportunity because I think he's nuts in the best possible way. And yeah, and it was also cool because every episode, you know, so it's written, the bipolar thing, bipolar 2, the way they approached it, when you watch the show, you know this, time sort of jumps between this Hollywood mania phase of Maria's life when she first came to LA and got very sucked down the really Hollywood rabbit hole of success, and then her mania really set in, and then her depression after her breakdown when she went home to Duluth, Minnesota, and then the present day when she's kind of trying to re-enter Hollywood and make it work on her own terms. So the scripts were all, because they all have all these time periods that they're jumping around in, they were typed in different colors. So when you would look at the script, you would know, okay, the pink stuff is mania. And so because there's so many time cuts and jump cuts, and they're very creative with the way they've done that on this show. And I'm really proud to be a part of something that's not just funny and fun, but they're really playing with form and perception and kind of taking, you know, where 30 Rock shows like that started and running with it. And it's really original and fun.
No, and it's so brave of Maria to kind of shine a light on mental illness in this way through comedy.
Oh, and she's such a likable presence. She's such a sort of, like I said, just she's very polite. She's very Minnesotan. She's, you know, but she's very willing to discuss her own diagnosis and mental illness in general. And even the show is very self-aware about destigmatize. You know, their job is destigmatizing mental illness and making it fun. You know, they kind of make jokes at their own expense about that. So it is refreshing.
And the first episode of this show, it's like a who's who in comedy, because you said Patton and Lenin, and what's that like for you? Are you ever, you know, coming from SNL, of course, you've worked with tons of comedians, but is it ever intimidating to be on a show where everyone around you is funny? Are you trying to out-funny the next person?
Not so much as I always feel like a accidental tourist, you know, like I'm always surprised and shocked by the community that I'm considered to be a part of, because of course I feel a huge kinship with my Saturday Night Live colleagues, but I definitely, it's one of those things like it just more it makes me feel really old when I realize how many people I know, because I just don't, you know, I'm not a stand-up, and I don't, some of those, you know, Mulaney, I mean, some of those comedians that are in the first episode, these are guys that are on the road all the time, really good at refining their craft, and so I don't really consider myself all the time a part of that, but I'm always excited when other people do. So.
Was there anyone on set who really stuck out to you or taught you something that you were like, wow, who knew?
No, although there's just so many fantastic women on the show. There's just June Diane Raphael, I mean, just goes on, and Jenny Slate, all these really funny women, and of course funny men, but it's always fun to be in a cast where there's just no dearth of hilarious women in every scene, every character, really fully committed, not vain, fun performances, you know, which is refreshing. And Maria herself, you know, she says it in the first 5 minutes of the series, but she's 45 years old. You don't often hear about a 45-year-old woman who's been around the block in Hollywood getting their own opportunity for a series. It's a big deal, and the numbers are still so weighted in the favor of male comics to female comics, so it's really satisfying.
And that's kind of in part thanks to Netflix, because they've opened this door for many different series to be made and to have a place to live. What was it like working with Netflix versus, you know, a scripted series that's on a network show?
Oh, I'm so happy to answer this question, and I might not ever work again in network television, but you know, it was like you felt like everyone had been set free. It was just this intense, creative ebullience, and our you know, no one's making, everyone's doing it for love, not money, you know, and what they're doing is giving a shot at a really original voice, really thoroughly executed, and everybody wants to get on board with that. So the writers in particular, these were like very, very credentialed television writers, that writer's room, people from, you know, Chuck Lorre's rooms, and, you know, all the big half-hour rooms in LA, which I admire. I don't judge that in any way for being commercial, but what was fun was just watching them with no standards and practices, no lawyer in house, no major like crew of suits standing there every take watching what you're doing. There was, the one creative representative from Netflix who was very generous with everybody, introduced himself maybe one day on set and then just let the thing fly. I can't speak to what Pam and Mitch probably experienced and Maria, after and editing or what have you, but almost everything I said made it to the final cut. And as you know from watching it, I've never heard swear words so complicated and creative in my entire life. And I swear, and I love swearing. So it was just colorful and fun and ridiculous and offensive, not for its own sake, but where it worked for the character. And especially a character like Karen Grisham, who is really such an asshole, that you can't, that woman is going to have she's going to be an offensive person verbally, so that would really be a bummer to do in a sanitized way, even though, sometimes I read, when the show first came out, you'll read comments like, why do they have to have so much swearing? And it's not really for its own sake. This kind of woman does swear that way, and she does it to look cool, and so the more fun that they could have with that, the better. So it was really, really incredibly fulfilling creatively. I can't speak more highly. And I know that's what everybody says about Netflix, but that really, truly was my experience. Also, the show, I love that things can get so specific and small. And when you look at their programming across the board, that, they're not overly concerned with pleasing everybody, but as much as pleasing this little group with this product and this little group with this product. It's really satisfying.
I love. They're not concerned necessarily with just the ratings and just the numbers, but more how their fans are feeling about each show. Yeah, that they're putting out there. And I do always say the Dynamite represents the cursing because the show is crazy.
Wait, it always represents what?
The Dynamite is like the cursing. Just I know she's Lady Dynamite.
Wow.
Man, the show is Dynamite.
Yeah.
But Karen is Lady Dynamite too, in a way.
She's pretty dynamite in her own way. She's got dynamite glasses. She's got a dynamite office. She's got dynamite. I wore some Louboutin shoes. They were pretty dynamite, and they didn't scrimp on those. Those are the real McCoy. I should have stolen them. Now that I think about it, I could have sold them on eBay and made a buck.
Yeah, maybe next season. Speaking of a next season, we just heard that Curb Your Enthusiasm is coming back.
I know, I'm so happy.
So cool. And I have to ask you, are you going to be a part of the show?
I have no idea. Certainly, you would probably hear it before I would. No, I love that. Again, I really love this new era of television. I love it. I love that it can be concise and short. And it's been a while. It's been 2 or 3 years since the last season. Yeah. And it kind of exists in its own space and time, which just Larry is a genius, and those guys, I don't know if Dave Mandela and those guys are still going to be writing on it, but they're geniuses, all.
So I would hope you're still Larry's girlfriend, and I'd love to see your son Greg again. Because
I think America would like to see Greg again. Yeah, I'm sure he's developing into quite a man.
Does it surprise you now that shows like Curb Your Enthusiasm can find a new place and come back and be renewed?
No, because I think it's the same thing. I think that we're in a really, it's almost like we're dealing with television like reading a novel. We're just consuming it and we're engaging in it for, I shouldn't say we, because obviously the conversation is about binge viewing. Everybody's a little bit different, but I definitely view that way. I would much rather inhale an entire series over a 3 or 4 day period than, sort of smatter along over a 9-month period when there's only 22 episodes. I don't mind waiting week to week to week, for, American Ninja Warrior results or what have you. I don't mind the anticipation of that, but I don't like it being broken up. So then you're like, oh, it's a repeat this week, and you lose the thread so quickly, and it's hard to. Certainly mostly on a practical level, I could not be more excited about a world in which I work 2.5 months on one thing and I'm done with it, and then I can go whatever, make another album, or work with a friend and write something new, or hang out with my kids. I like sort of a snack mentality towards my work. Yeah.
How do you decide? Because you'd mentioned, of course, she's an accomplished singer, a beautiful singer.
Thank you.
You've done Broadway, you've done television, you've done movies, you're a mother.
Not really very many movies, and they're usually pretty bad.
You still do them, though. I'm not in a movie yet,
That's true.
but maybe one day.
That's true. I am proud of Paul Blart Mall Cop 2 hyphen Blart Rides Again. I'm proud. I'm proud of my hair. I'm proud of my hair. And I'm proud of the fact that I have an actor's secret, and that's that I wore a Celine Dion t-shirt in every scene, even if you didn't see it. So that's a little fun Easter egg for you.
Little Easter egg.
If you want to go back and rent Paul Blart Mall Cop 2, Blart Rides Again, check that out.
And did you take your costume off and simultaneously?
No, it's my actor's secret. My character loves Celine.
Because we all remember your epic Celine Dion impression on SNL, don't we all?
It's very hard to go to Las Vegas and not think about Celine the whole time. So we were shooting in Las Vegas, and so everywhere, there's really good Celine merch there. Like, I was really sort of mad that I didn't go home with more of it, because there's really some quality Celine merch.
Did you go see Celine
No,
when
but
you were there?
oddly enough, and this is another topic entirely, my husband was there for work last week, and he went with a friend. He sent me a picture. He's like, guess where I am? I was like, is there something we need to discuss? But yeah, no, I love me some Celine.
Have you guys ever met in person?
Me and my
You
husband?
Celine?
Yes, I have.
No,
you know,
you and your husband I know haven't met.
I did. No, we're just Facebook friends. So I did meet Celine once. I did an impression of her very shortly after I began doing the impression on Saturday Night Live at Madison Square Garden as her. Her people came up with it, good marketers, and they had me enter as her into Madison Square Garden and pretend I was her, like, from the back, and then start doing her, and then have her, like, come up on some giant, showy elevator behind me and catch me. We called it a sneaker upper at SNL, but it was insane. It was one of the most insane things I've ever done, because I had to dress exactly like her, which made me feel crazy. It was a breakaway lady tux with skirt.
Oh, yeah.
So you, like,
Celine.
bust off the skirt and then let it fly. So I had to wear her exact breakaway lady tux, and then I had to do my not that good impression of her with her behind me. And she really did not speak English at that time, because when she first came into the mass, awareness, she really was very much only a French speaker. And so when you talk to her, she would look straight at Rene, her husband, and wait for him to translate. So she never made eye contact with you. So it was like having a weird conversation with somebody who's looking over here the entire time. It was all very strange.
Like Celine.
But I did get a gift of the Heart of the Ocean piece of merch from. It's nice to have, and one of these days.
I can just imagine you at home with all your Celine merch on, just laying in
laying
bed
there.
watching old SNL.
Thinking about her, watching old shows. There's nothing worse than having your spouse catch you watching yourself on shows. And it has happened to me, where I'm just laughing and laughing at what a fun time we had. Steven Weber and I saw that you posted a Reefer Madness thing. We got caught by our director, Andy Fickman, and watching our own dailies and just thinking we were the funniest thing that had ever happened, laughing at each other. And he was like, you guys can't watch yourself. You're not allowed to do that.
Like, yes,
We're like,
I
but
am.
it's so funny.
And I will. So, speaking of your impressions, what about Martha Stewart? Have you met her?
Please hold. Sorry, I should have.
Just think on that a little bit.
I have definitely met Martha Stewart many times, and in fact, last year, on Seth Meyers, she was on at the same time, and I issued a public apology to her, which then we had to cook right after together. It was super awkward, and she was great about it. She was lovely, and I actually I sent her flowers to say thanks for being so cool over the years, because I have really brutally made fun of her. I actually super admire her, so it's a little bit of she always understood that it's an imitation and flattery thing, and was always very gracious about it.
Well, I mean, the climate we're in right now, especially in politics, will lend itself to a beautiful SNL season next year.
Yeah, it's going to be fun for them.
Who do you think is going to play all Hillary's and the Donald Trumps and?
Well, they have, Kate McKinnon is the latest in a series of. I played Hillary 1.0, which, as a comedy writer said, was like, you're like the Rod Stewart of Hillary's. Like way back when, which she really was like not, particularly easy to make fun of, because she was basically the president's wife. Like, she was the first lady and wasn't really that interesting, and she sort of weathered the various and sundry storms of first ladydom in the Bill Clinton White House. But Daryl Hammond is the best impersonator, I guess. He's absolutely the best, I think, of our lifetime as comedians, and he's an incredible Trump, uncanny and upsetting, so perfect, yes. But there have been so many great Hillarys that there's just going to be a big lineup of them, I guess.
Would you ever come back to SNL for a little guest spot next season?
Of course I would, but not as Hillary. I always feel like I'm such a boring Hillary. I'll go back anytime. I love it there.
Do you have somebody that you would love to do an impression of?
Well, there was this really strange Gawker item in which someone posited that I was secretly Heidi Cruz, that Ted Cruz was like anyway, it was this odd, that Ted Cruz was like a made-up character, and that I was a made-up, like that we'd been planted by, anyway, my quote was that I was in fact playing Heidi Cruz for this entire time. So I would have been happy that she was not a real person, that she's a made-up character for television and media. So I would happily have gone back and played her anytime, because I think I like to play people that I at least think I can sort of look like, so that if I do the impression badly, I get away with it.
That's a good note. And before I pass this off to the audience, I have to ask you about Tina Fey's Mean Girls musical. Which we're all very excited about. But I would love for you to star in that, considering you have quite the background in Broadway.
Wow, that would be incredible. I don't even know if Katie's mom is in the story. I don't know enough about the musical.
You could probably play somebody else, maybe Tina Fey's character.
I'm a little, maybe. That would be an interesting mashup.
Let's call up Tina.
Cultural mashup.
Rolling.
Let's call Tina. Make it happen, guys.
Yeah, come on, Tina. Me and Tina go way back. Let's take some audience questions.
Hey, I'm a huge fan, and you sold me on Lady Dynamite. As soon as you were on to your next lunch reservation, it was hilarious. But I love you on Difficult People when you have no eyebrows, and you're just, how did that come about?
That came about because the writer, Scott King, really had that happen, where he over-bleached his eyebrows and they fell out. And so he called me up and he was like, hey, we have this thing on Difficult People. It's based on the time that I bleached my eyebrows and they came out. Will you come and do it? So yes, it's art meeting life. Thank you.
How's it going, Anna?
Hey.
My question is, what was your favorite day on set on SNL?
My favorite day on set on SNL. Such a good question.
Sweaty balls, maybe?
No, those days, it's funny because I'll answer it in a more general way, and I hope you'll forgive me. It's such a blackout of experience because it's so intense and so it's just happening at lightning speed. It's like you're always running on a treadmill that's set too fast the whole time that you're working at Saturday Night Live. Everything about it. So 6 years of my life kind of feel like they were on hyperspeed, hyperspace. But in terms of the daily grind of the show, I always liked Thursdays the best. I'm sure if you're a student of the show, Mondays was pitch, and Tuesdays was writing, and Wednesdays was read through, and Thursdays the show has been selected, or at least the idea behind the show, most of the sketches. And there were two things I loved. I loved kind of the casualness of blocking. Everybody kind of felt resolved and resigned, and their sketches were chosen or not. For the rest of the week. And then the rewrite table, which most people hated, but I loved it. I loved the feeling of sitting down with something I'd written and looking around a table of 17 incredible comedy writers who were just going to make my thing better. And I just loved those days. I always had fun on Thursday. I felt like it was the most kind of in-house and relaxed and creative without being under the sort of hot lights of the experience, which is very public in general. By Saturday, the whole experience is very, very public. So, which isn't a bad thing, but it's not necessarily the easiest part for me. Other performers, like, as soon as they hit that hot light, that's it. That's what they're there for, So.
Be tough.
Hi.
Hi.
I wanted to know, who was the costume designer for this show, because you have like really dope accessories in fashion. So.
Yes, I do. Her name is Kirsten Mann, and she is a genius. You're talking about Lady Dynamite, right? Yes, she has such an incredible eye, and I'm so glad that you recognize it. She's the one that bullied me into wearing the Prada glasses, which I was a little worried would like upstage or somehow be too jokey, and they're so perfect. The minute I would put those glasses on, I would feel right on. And she has like there's a little bit of a snake in every single one of the outfits. Like if you look at them all the way through there, she always had snake skin or snake patterns in the necklaces or in the shoes. Like, yeah, because I was such a sort of diabolical serpentine woman. So yeah, I'm so appreciative that somebody recognizes her because she's incredibly talented. Plus, she just makes you feel great, and she's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That counts.
Hi. I heard that you're going to be guest starring in the upcoming episode of Maya and Marty. I was wondering what that was like working with the SNL people.
So great. Thank you for asking. Yeah, that episode of Maya and Marty airs tonight, actually. Again, the club, like the accidental club of people, is such a gift to be a part of. And I'm fully aware of it and grateful every minute of it. And Marty Short is one of my comedy idols. Maya's one of my best friends, and truly one of the most talented comedians I know. So I just did a film piece for them. I didn't get to do. That's the kind of show you see it and you're like, I just want to be on your show all the time. Please, can I be on your show? I don't care what I do. If I just have to come in and slip on a banana peel, I don't care. So I was really thrilled that they asked me to be a part of it because it's very SNL-like, and it's the way they put it together, and it's filmed in 30 Rock, and a lot of the same crew crosses over, people that I know from SNL, because that show, because it's been on the air 40 years, it's a lot of the same. It's like going back to your high school or something where everybody still works there,
And now they just have a summer job.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we have time for one more.
Hi, Anna. Thank
Hi.
you for being here. Has any of your SNL experience helped you in any way in Lady Dynamite?
SNL helped me in every way, in everything. I mean, it was a really intense experience, and it was a really terrifying experience, and it was a really educational experience. But I think, not just in terms of developing metal, but in terms of certainly in terms of joke writing and understanding how to land a joke and understanding how to sell a line on behalf of a writer. I learned all of that at SNL. Some of it's instinct, but it was really well honed because a read-through table has 45 sketches at it. So if you add that up over 22 episodes over 6 years, that's a lot of sketches being sold on behalf of other people over the years. And I think I learned a lot about that, and I learned a lot about being ego-less about that it's really not about me, it's about making it work. It's so funny, actors are so righteous about line readings. There's such a thing where actors well, don't give me a line reading, but SNL is so in the service of the writers, because that's really who you're living and dying by, that I love line readings. I always feel I just tell me the right way to do this. And actually Marty Short and I talked about this when we did the Maya and Marty show last week. I don't want to waste time. Why are we pretending this is about me and my process? Just tell me how you wrote it and I'll do it, it's fine. So I learned that from SNL very much. And I learned obviously learned a tremendous amount of humility, because you're just constantly surrounded by somebody more talented than you are. And there's something to be learned from that, as opposed to being threatened by.
I know, I wish I was on SNL, don't we all?
It's intense. I mean, I can't say I understood any of it while I was there, but I've been off now for coming on 14 years, which I can't believe. And I mean, I've been back several times, but I don't think I do feel like so many things in my life have been an accident, a lucky accident, and it's changed the entire trajectory of my life and of my career, obviously. But I continue to feel grateful in new ways all the time, the longer I am away from it.
Well, make sure to check out this lucky accident, Lady Dynamite,
It is.
because it's really funny. It's streaming now. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thanks for coming out, for your great questions.